Hello everybody and welcome to my latest tier listing. We're up to the 1997-98 season of Premier League kits now. You can see there's some wild design choices out here, so without further ado, let's get stuck in. Okay, so the Arsenal home kit didn't change, so that will go into A tier where it was last time. Okay, they did tinker with their away kit. Now, you may recognise this was from the period where this was obviously the season where Arsenal won the double. So we were, I guess, similar to we've discussed before. Sometimes kits get higher ratings based on the fact that champions wear them. Whether that's fair or not, I don't know. But that is quite an iconic kit. We remember Anelka, Bold Adams, Vieira, all the greats of that Arsenal side wearing this kit. Very nice little stripe panel across here with the JVC right smack in the middle. I quite like these little hoops on the arms. It's the typical yellow away colour for Arsenal, but really solid. I don't think it's quite going to make it to S tier, but I think it's probably. Would it be above? I think it's maybe just above the Arsenal home. So there we go. Smack into A tier straight away. Villa did change up two of their three kits this season. I'm not sure that was an improvement really on the last season. I don't necessarily like the removal of the sort of fold down collar. I don't know if the V neck is particularly great. This kind of blue shade of blue, and I don't know if it's very thin stripe patterns. Just seems a bit weak for me on the sleeves. AST Computer's a good logo. It's good sponsor logo. But otherwise, mediocre. I don't think it's enough to take it down from A tier, but it's going to get probably the lower reaches of A tier. It's not one of the absolute best Villa kits. Their away kit, however, doesn't do it for me at all. I think, again, they've tried to do the West Ham thing. Oh, we have claret and blue home, so let's just reverse the ratio for the away kit. And exactly the same as West Ham, and maybe we'll throw in some white as well. Doesn't work at all. I mean, I'm not necessarily adverse to this pattern. The panel right across the sleeves and the top half of the shirt is entirely this sort of sky blue. Then, yeah, I don't like the rest of the shirt or the trim of the collars, the cuffs. If I'm being honest, the collar's okay. That's I feel like I should reward it for trying something, but I'm afraid that's B tier for me. Now, the third kit you might remember was previously away kit, so they did the old trick of just shunting it down to the next level. We did put the away kit in A, and I don't see any reason to change that. That will go back into A tier. And what do we have next? We have newcomers to the Premier League. For the one and only time, as of the time of recording, Barnsley made it up to the Premier League. Got their ass handed to them a few times, but let's have a look at this kit. There's a lot going on. They've tried to do a lot of different things here. I quite like the embroidery of the rose from their badge onto both sides of the sleeves. I think the sleeves are excellent. The rest of it, not so sure. They've kind of gone with sort of a partial design of the Admiral logo embroidered into the background. Not sure that entirely works. And I'm not a fan of this. This is not a good sponsor logo. And they've done it in a column. Again, I'm not even sure that works. I think it's borderline B, but the embroidered sleeves, I think, maybe mark it up. So let's put it in A tier. I like the away kit a lot more. Maybe it's just the size of the sponsor logo talking, or the massive badge talking. But I really like this. It looks like what is this? The Admiral logo, or got some intricate little designs embroidered in here. It's a nice shiny white that kind of evokes the Italian '90 England kit. Really like the collar too. That's going to get quite high A tier for me. I think that is potentially going just there. Right, the Blackburn home. That was, as you might remember, that was the previous season's kit. They didn't change it, and that got into A tier. So let's drag that straight back where it belongs. Probably above the Villa kits, I think. However, their away kit, they made an attempt, you could argue, to emulate the glory of the Sheffield Wednesday away from the previous season. They did a few things differently. I quite like the collar, but not so sure about the. Is it like micro stripes, micro grey stripes amid the white? I think it probably is micro grey stripes because they've kind of done that sort of hatching effect of micro grey stripes embroidered into the orange, which I think detracts from it. It takes it from being more of a Sheffield Wednesday away. It emulates more of the Chelsea away disaster. And what are they doing with this CIS logo? Why not just put that in bright white? I don't know what they're doing with that. I quite like how bold the ASICS logo and the black background on the badge are, but I think that those save it. I think the collar and the badge and the logo save it. That will go lower A tier because of that. But yeah, it's a bit of it's disappointing when you get a bright orange kit that just doesn't hit the mark. Okay, Bolton made their return to the Premier League. I don't think they're as strong. I think that's a forgettable kit. Again, what's with this sort of polo neck? It's a V-neck really, but it's actually just a yeah. It's kind of a polo neck style. Reebok is a classic logo, and it's probably a right idea to do it as a column with the club badge above. What do these really add? These panels at the side, I don't really think they add much. However, it's not. I don't think it's an outrageously bad kit, so let's put that bottom of A tier. I think you've got to be plumbing the depths to get a lot lower than A tier, really. To be fair. However, the Trotters did pull this banging kit design out. I like the alternative Reebok with no letters. That's a lovely little sort of horizontal beer mat logo. And again, the column with the Bolton badge just above. Nice badge, nice collar, nice cuffs. And that's a lovely lilac shade. Or maybe dark lilac. Dark lilac? Whatever shade you would describe it as. I'm not an expert on colour shades, but that for me is S tier. Now, so this was, you could argue, I think this was possibly the season where Chelsea kicked up a gear because they'd started to build from Glenn Hoddle bringing in Ruud Gullit and Ruud Gullit player manager. This was when the Vialis and the Zolas started coming in, or were in the door. And a lot of Chelsea fans will reminisce over this kit because of that. And I mean, Vialli looked fantastic in it, but he looks fantastic in anything. He looked fantastic in anything. Rest in peace. Autoglass, fairly decent sponsor. Yeah, I'm not sure about these stripes and the underarm panels or the random yellow. Looks a lot nicer on the collar than it does on the sleeves. It's got positives going for it, which is why I'm not going to drag it down to B tier, but it's not a favourite Chelsea kit of mine. But the nostalgia factor and a few positives, that's probably going to get, probably ahead, I think just behind the Barnsley, but ahead of that Blackburn away. The Chelsea away, you might remember that's an Umbro template that was used before. I don't think that works. That doesn't work for me. The lemon yellow with the stripes, I can see what they were trying to do. Again, you'll notice with Umbro, they had this thing for a few years of printing the club name again, sort of middle of the bottom of the shirt, for reasons unknown. Like, why would someone have to check down here to understand it's a Chelsea kit. I mean, the badge is right there. I mean, who are they marketing it to? Regardless, B tier for me, or they ever get ahead of that Aston Villa kit. Now, Coventry, that was, I wasn't the biggest fan of their previous season's kit, even though it had a very similar sort of stripe style. That's more like it. I like this embroidery. I like the fact it's not too subtle. It's like a stencil. It's a stencil embroidered design. And the fact that the badge is huge and it's literally right next to the small badge panel, very nice. And of course, remnants of the previous season, we've got the checkerboard design on the trim of the sleeves. That's a decent kit. That's actually, I considered S tier, but probably doesn't quite make the mark. Although I think that's good enough to get it top of A tier for now. Now they didn't. You might notice that they've done an alternative Subaru to. I'm never sure how you pronounce it. Is it Isuzu or Isuzu? Anyway, you notice they've actually got the same stencil badge here, but it's just a lot more subtle. I like the fact they've kind of mixed up the sponsor, or I guess it's Isuzu is a parent company, or the sister company, or is it a particular car they manufactured? I don't know. Nice crisp white, nice bold dark trim. That's decent enough. I think that's enough to get it into A tier. Solid A tier. Possibly doesn't beat the home, but I think maybe just behind that Barnsley number. I'm not a fan of this Palace kit. I think they were probably straining to emulate one of the Bayern Munich numbers of this period. I don't think that works. It's like, again, it offends my eyes because the stripes, they haven't gone for either pinstripes, thin stripes, or bold stripes. They've gone for, let's make the blue a relatively bold stripe and then cut the red stripe down to around half the size. In fact, not even half, it looks like 2/3 of the size. And it's just, why? It's very distracting. And the fact they've gone for stripes within stripes just irritates me. Even the glorious TDK logo doesn't take away from that. That's going into B tier. I mean, it was a shocking season for them as well. So obviously the Bayern Munich homage didn't work. That's going back a B tier. This is better. I quite like how this middle panel sort of, it's reminiscent of, I mean, it's kind of reminiscent of TDK itself. Such a nostalgia company for the retro cassette tapes. But yeah, this panel, yeah, it just kind of reminds me of retro TDK. It's kind of got a bit of a vaporwave thing going on. That's quite nice what they've done with their badge here. The stripes in the badge. Didn't notice that for the home kit. Did they do it with the home kit? No, they didn't know. So, no, that's nice. I quite like that. Okay, let's get into A tier. So, TDK, Palace away. I'm probably going to put that. Ahead of this Arsenal home number. Actually, no, the Arsenal home number had that tire tread design. In fact, probably the Barnsley because of the very shiny England Italia 90 thing going on there. That's probably going to nudge ahead. Now, again, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if did Adidas manufacture Bayern Munich in the mid-90s? If they did, this is a bit of another shocker. That's I'm pretty sure again that's a Bayern Munich homage. That's a template from Bayern Munich. It may also be. I'm pretty sure the France national team had something similar. Not to say it's terrible. I mean, I think it's fairly good idea to have the Palace home colours both here, so the blue and the red, but done in narrow tapering stripes coming over the shoulders. The collar's very reminiscent of mid-90s France. This is nice, the column rather than the either side, which probably would have spoiled this design. I'm a bigger fan of it than I was originally. Although again, really overkill. Why do the stripes when there's already a stripe pattern? Like you can stick with the just the bold white. Anyway, that's better than I originally thought. So that Palace number, I think, is probably going. I think it's probably yeah. I think it's probably going ahead of the Barnsley one, just behind the Arsenal home. Derby County also made a return. Don't know that as much as their previous strip. Sorry, they didn't make a return. Sorry, but yeah, I'm not a bigger fan as their previous season strip. Although there's not much to dislike, but Puma were generally pretty reliable. You've got the you got the animal versus animal thing with the ram and the puma. If there's one, I originally didn't like this stripe along the top, but if you're going to make a change to the kit, that's not a bad change, and it joins the nice bold black cuffs with the nice black collar. Puma should have been that should have been bigger. That sponsor that sponsor logo should have been significantly bigger. That would have made the kit possibly, maybe not S tier, but top of A tier. In the interim, because that sponsor logo is too small, that's getting. Where am I putting it? This in A tier. You know what? I think that's actually going ahead of that Villa home kit. No, that's not so good. It reminds me of something I think Everton did in later years. That colour of yellow, not the best colour of yellow. That blue is too dark and dingy to balance it right. I don't think that works. I don't think the colour balance works there. Puma, they decided to go black for the sponsor logo again. I'm not sure that was the right decision. And this is a bit too small. So, yeah, sorry, Puma, you've gone down to top of B tier for that one. This is one of my least favourite Everton shirts. Umbro have let down the side of this one. I don't know whether 1-to-1, like, if this is part of their. I don't think it's part of their logo. What if they're away? No, it's not. So, this kind of flag ribbon going across the centre, what was that about? Don't think that works. The sponsor, it's not one of the very worst, but again, I always think if it's a kind of a lame sponsor logo that doesn't have something visually interesting, then at least expand it and make it take up a significant amount of the shirt. I think this is too small. It's not a memorable sponsor logo. This flag ribbon banner thing doesn't work. I don't like the shade of blue. Okay, I don't even like the badge there. A couple of things I do like. I think this Umbro trim, that's actually quite nice, and it's a nice collar. So it's not the worst of the worst, but yeah, particularly the shade of blue that's in, that's getting into C tier. But it's not the bottom of the barrel. That, you might remember, was a previous Everton away design. But yeah, Umbro was struggling a bit in the late 90s. I mean, or mid to late 90s. Again, what is this? Why do you need to remind people it's Everton? Again, that sponsor logo is not good. I think I can't remember whether I marked this down before, but I don't really like bottom of B tier. I think it's worthy of being ahead of the home shirt. Leeds didn't change their home kit, and you might remember I didn't like that, particularly the drop in standards from the previous version of the Leeds home. That got into C tier last time, so that will go there again. That's much better for their away shirt. Love these bold colours. These are the great Leeds away colours. And that is a great design shirt. I love the collar too. The only thing that lets it down is that doesn't do it for me, that sponsor logo. And again, it should have probably been slightly bigger. Nonetheless, that will get to the upper echelons of A tier. I think probably, in fact, yeah, I think that's probably second in A tier. You might remember they've done the old switcheroo where that was their previous season's away kit, and it's now their third, and that got into B tier last time, so that's where it shall go again. No, back at B tier. Right, Leicester home. They didn't change it, so that last time made it into A tier. I see no reason to change that. Probably there. That's probably about right. Right, their away kit, they didn't change either. So that also made it into A tier. So we shall drag that back into. Where's this going to go? I think there. Don't shoot me. They may have altered the Walker's logo slightly, but it's still the basic same kit design. So, whatever. Come at me. Now, you may remember their third kit from the previous season was a lovely golden hue. They've gone for lighter, more sort of custard yellow here. It's not bad, but it doesn't reach the level of the previous effort. Again, it's got the same template. I think it's the home and away with the slanted Fox's badge logo embroidered into the background. It's solid, but I probably lower A tier, but just below the away shirt, let's say. Right, so Liverpool, that has not changed from the previous season. So that got into A tier, and it will again, and it will probably go just maybe ahead of that. Yeah, probably behind the Barn. Mind you, I did slag off the Barnsley. Okay, it's going. There we go, just behind the Leicester home. Right. You might notice they rectified their heinous error from the previous season where they had that ecru cream away kit. Maybe it was the outcry. I like to think that people made their opposition known. Scousers do tend to do that. That is, I really like that shade of yellow. It's Liverpool tend to rely on green or yellow for their away, and I think that's a good design choice. I'm not a hugest fan of the club, but in terms of the design choice, yellow and green are good for away colours. So they've got the typical. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So they've got shades of red, 3 shades of red in the trim. I quite like that. Yeah, it's almost like one of those colour swatches. Yes, so I really like that. That's banging that trim on the cuffs. Similar on the collar actually, although I'm not a fan of the V-neck, but I like the colour design there. Carlsberg iconic. Do you know what? Carlsberg again should have been slightly bigger, but otherwise that is a fantastic kit. In fact, Liverpool for the first time are going to make it into my S tier. There you go. Well done. Right, Manchester City were re-promoted this season, and they came back with this lurid shade of blue. You might call it I don't know. Would you call it neon? It's kind of a neon blue, tipping into sort of aquamarine shade. I just remember like it looked like no other kit this season. It looks better with the brother logo's not bad there, although I think maybe it could have done with either an outline or fabric version rather than just the printed in white with nothing else. So yeah, I don't like how little that stands out. But yeah, Kappa did their design along the sleeves. Do you know what? This always reminds me of those popper trousers that I think Kappa also manufactured. Do you remember those from the late 90s? I remember them because I wore a pair of them and I looked like an absolute cretin. So I'm not going to necessarily punish this kit entirely for that, but good collar. And I mean, they tried something different with the trim. Do you know what? It's deficient in some ways, but they tried something different, and the shade was just it made your eyes hurt. So, okay, I'm going to be kinder to them than perhaps they warrant, but that will go. I think maybe that high in A tier. So I really didn't think that was going to make it into A tier. That, however, is abominable. I I can't fathom how anyone would like any aspect of the design of that monstrosity. That is an absolute cast iron D tier. And it's not the first time we've seen City shirts in D tier. I mean, this really confused me. This was apparently their third kit for 97-98. That to me looks like a goalkeeper shirt. Unless Football Kit Archive, which has never let me down before, but unless they've let me down here, that was apparently City's third shirt. I mean, what is going on here? It reminds me if you had a bunch of primary school kids who love football to go into a focus group and they were all sort of 6 or 7 years old, and you said to them, you're gonna design your own kits. What do you want on it? Now, okay, you might argue they'd have cartoon characters or whatever, comic book characters here and there, but if they were only allowed the typical kit accoutrements and they were told, just put whatever you want on it, and you can imagine they'd be squabbling back and forth. They'd be like, stripes. It's like, what kind of stripes? Black, yellow, white, and then they're just like, whoa, okay, so we'll take those three. So you want big bold stripes? And then some kids go, yeah, and then some kids go, no. Well, what do you want? Small stripes or pin stripes? Yeah. So, okay, we want thick stripes. We want pin stripes. We want black and yellow. So we want equal black and no. So we want random black and yellow all over the place, and you get my point. Anyway, the collar's not bad. This almost looks like it was photoshopped in. That's very strange. Anyway, I don't have it against kids, but you know what? Maybe because I imagine kids design that, we're going to put that in C tier. It would otherwise be in D tier, maybe because they've just tried something new. So, Manchester United did not change their home or their third kits. So, home last time made it into A tier. I think that's probably. Ooh, I'm going to put that just ahead of the City kit. You might remember the previous version of the away was like crisp white with the same sort of red and black outline on the sponsor logo. I don't see what these add. I don't know what Umbro are doing here. They just again added these sort of flag-like ribbon banners going across the centre and along the shoulder panels. What this kind of pointy shield that they put the badge on, not sure that really works. Just the shapes and the designs are just at odds here. Not easy on the eye at all. In fact, this kind of banner thing does kind of remind me a little bit of the previously forgotten monstrosity of the Grey Away kit. And they do, yeah, you see they've got bold white here and then they've got subtle stripes. I think Umbro have gone for a really similar design. And that's going to get the same result as it did that time. That's getting back of C tier, and I might change that and downgrade it, but we'll see. So the United third, that actually was the previous season's third, so they haven't done the old switcheroo. I didn't like that at all. The previous season, I mean, there were elements that were okay, but I wasn't a huge fan. I actually put that in B tier last time, and maybe that was a bit generous, but we'll put that at the back of B tier. Okay, Newcastle. That is a new kit. Stripes a lot thinner than we're accustomed to. Again, not sure. I'm not a huge fan of these style collars with no buttons, laces, or collar to speak of to fold down. Again, it's just sort of polo neck. Just doesn't do it for me. Quite like the sleeve. Do you know what? The sleeves alone look a lot better than the rest of the shirt. I think those stripes are too thin for me. You got the old beer mat Nuki Brown. I think that should have been bigger again to detract from how, I don't know, how scrawny the stripes are. They've gone for the column. Do you know what? I think I don't actually have a problem with most of the design components, other than this should have taken up more space. These should be a bit thicker in dimension with less of them, and this should be a different colour. So I guess I do have a few issues with it, but it's really the thinness of the stripes that detracts for me. So sorry, Newcastle, that's going maybe top of B tier. And we're going back to the Toon for their away number. At first, I thought this was awful, and then I looked a bit harder and I saw they've got the nice little seahorses from the badge design embroidered into the background, subtly, I say subtly, but sort of in a faded black that you can only just pick out with this. This is actually sort of a midnight blue sort of shade. I do quite like it, and you know what? The orange works quite well. And I even think that this green conflicted with this orange actually does pretty well. And I quite like the way that they've gone for something different with shunting the logo to one side. I'm actually quite a fan of this kit. You know, the only thing that I think lets it down, drum roll, is the collar again. Don't do these pony note colours. Why not have something you can fold down, or some buttons, or some laces, you know? But otherwise, that's actually a banging kit. I'm tempted to put that in S tier, actually. Even without the collar. Do you know what? I'm going to put that in S. Yeah, that's in S tier. Well done, Newcastle. That was not my first impression when I had a look at this kit. So, well, good work, the team. Oh, this is a classic Wednesday kit. Really like this. Newcastle, take note. Thicker stripes, nice meaty stripes. Classic sponsor logo with lovely bold colours. Decent size. They've got the old throwback Wednesday badge. I don't know whether it's their centenary or something. Wednesday fans will know. Love the collar, nice trim. You know what? That's probably one of my favourite Wednesday kits. That's getting into S tier as well. You remember the drill. This is unchanged. This was in S tier last time. This is in S tier again. Do you know what? That Newcastle number is nudging ahead of it though. So well done, Wednesday. Both your kits in S tier this season. Southampton. Right, the Saints have done a lot better because what have they done? They followed Sheffield Wednesday's ideal of the meatier stripes. Equally proportioned but meaty stripes. I'm not sure what this subtle, does it say Saints or something embroidered into these stripes? That's very subtle, so it doesn't detract from the shirt, but it gives, I think definitely what this does right is, I used to think, do you remember in the earlier Premier League seasons, I said I loved when they had the subtle black lines outlining to bring the red stripes out, really make them pop. And then when they took that away and it was just the plain red, I was like, oh, it just doesn't bring it out enough from the white. But this time they've kept a very bold, crisp white. But they've made these stand out with some subtly embroidered designs in there. So that's really nice work. Well done, Southampton. I think what did Sheffield Wednesday? So Wednesday was Puma. In fact, Southampton's stripes are slightly meatier. No, I have to give them credit. They're actually slightly meatier than Wednesday. But yeah, the Pony Club. So well done, Pony, because I wasn't a huge fan of Pony in the mid to late 90s, but this is a decent number, even without an outline of stripes. Great collar. That's a pretty strong Southampton shirt. That's going to make it to A tier. Where to maybe there, I think. That's much better than, I believe, the previous season with the horrible cream that made it into D tier. That's a lot better. It's not the greatest kit I've seen, but this is a decent enough design. It makes it stand out a little bit from the plain white. Classic sponsor logo. that's pretty strong from Pony. So that's probably going to make it. Do you know what? That's probably going to make it. Yeah, I think that's probably enough. Now you might look at this and think, oh, they've unchanged. No, I did check. There's subtle changes. But you know what? Sometimes subtle changes are exactly what you need, where a design is decent, but it's not quite class, and then you just tinker with it a little bit. That's a fantastic collar, great collar, nice cuffs. Again, subtle designs that make the stripes pop, but also outlined. And this bold blue and this bold yellow, that's a much better kit from Southampton. They've taken an existing template and just added little bits and pieces. They knew the colours could work, and that's an excellent effort. That's actually going to make it. Do you know what? I think that's going to make it top of A tier. Well done, Saints, because your kits usually mark low, especially when they're designed by Pony. So that's an excellent effort. I don't think Pony were as strong on this, so Spurs tinkered with theirs. Don't like this stripe. Just messes. It seems to mess with the dimensions and horrible collar. So Spurs, you are getting into top of B tier, I'm afraid, for that effort. But can't win them all because normally the Spurs home is a banker for A or S tier. That's much better. Like this kind of shady yellow that the sponsor logo and manufacturer's in. Still not a fan of that type of collar, although if that had a decent collar, I think that colour kind of works to offset it against this blue with what looks like embroidered stripes in the background. That's strong enough to make it A tier, I think. Maybe just ahead, actually, that Southampton number. Okay. I know West Ham had some iconic sponsors in this era with Dr. Martens and I'm forgetting. I should. It's in the back of my head. It'll probably come to me well after the video is finished. But the Dr. Martens, particularly, we associate with West Ham. I quite like this. I quite liked. I mean, it looks a bit Burnley-ish, I guess, but which not necessarily a bad thing. It's almost like a throwback kit. That's a decent effort from Pony for that West Ham kit. So that's going to make it to A tier. Yeah, you know what? Probably ahead of that United home. Away, the usual kind of lack of imagination with hammers. They decide to put these in a column format, which gives it a different vibe, I guess. Doesn't do it for me, to be honest. It's just a very dull kit. That's going to get top of B tier, I think. No, in fact, it's going to. My misgivings with the Newcastle shirt. No, I'm going to keep it there. Right, we're into the daddies. Now, I'm sorry, come at me, but Wimbledon never missed. After the first season of the Premier League, I don't think off the top of my head, I don't think I marked down a single one of their shirts after the first season. They've just all been class. It's just class. The shade of blue that they sticking with a consistent shade of blue, very sort of dark and intimidating shade of blue was and always trim it with brighter yellow. That was such a good design choice. And we've got some subtle stripes here that don't detract from the otherwise glorious nature of this shirt. Proper collar. You notice Lotto has put a little The Crazy Gang embroidery into here. Nice touch. The Alonex logo, I think, could be a fraction bigger just to really top this off. But otherwise, is there anything that marks this down as not an A tier? You see, they even tried a little bit different. They keep the standards, the fundamentals of the kit. They know they're on a winner. They keep that the same. They just tinker at the edges. We've got these stripes here that I think is quite nice, and they've replicated them on the sleeve cuffs. So excellent work again, Wimbledon. That is going in A tier. Probably just behind that Newcastle number though. Again, utter class. They know the shade of colour that really works for them. This time they got the same template. They've got the subtle stripes, and is that the Wimbledon? No, it's not the badges. Something else in there. I can't quite make that out. But you see exactly the same template, just with, pick your different colours. They've gone for their classic scarlet red away, and they've teamed that with black. And it's an absolute winner. In fact, I'm going to put that probably ahead of that Liverpool number. And then the third, again, total class, just fresh, clean white. Although again, same embroidered designs and lovely little accoutrements on the sleeves. Excellent again, Wimbledon again. There we go. It's right. So that's all the kits. Let's have a look at this order. I think we have a winner in S tier. I think it's going to be that Wimbledon away. I think that looks fantastic. That's worthy of being second. I think that's great third. Fourth, and really tried something different. Rewarded for that. I think maybe the Wimbledon home slides behind that beautiful, crisp, clean Wimbledon third. I think, do you know what? I think the Wednesday home probably beats that classic away. I just think everything about that, the proportions on everything here is just sublime. And, there's a bit of trim, I think, across the sleeves that kind of would just shy away from making it the creme de la creme. Anyway, that is fantastic for the S tier. That's a strong A tier. Do we want to jiggle any ones lower down? You know what? Yeah, I'm putting that D tier. Yeah, that United number. I think we've seen a pattern here. These sort of flag banner ribbons around the centre of strips. I think kit manufacturers genuinely think they're being clever putting them here, but you're just trying to be too clever. Make it one bold colour, or make it some nice symmetrical colours, or with a really eye-catching pattern. Don't just, we're going to put pinstripe, then we're going to put a gap, and then a kind of bold stripe, and then a bigger gap, and then another pinstripe. Just doesn't work. Doesn't work for me. I'm sure it does. If you make exactly the right design choices, maybe it does. In the wrong proportions, no. This, do you know what? I think this Palace number could, because it's so reminiscent of French strips, and I think a Bayern Munich design. Maybe, yeah, and the TDK. Did TDK? No, they didn't sponsor Bayern Munich as well, did they? I'm misremembering that. I'm sure. But you know what? That's gonna rank higher. That is going to. I actually think that's gonna go third in the A tier. That's close. Yeah, that is. No, actually, that's second. There we go. That's second in A tier. I don't think any of the A tier are risking going up. So there we go. How many we got? 8 strips in S tier this time, and the 2 in the D tier. Again, that's balanced like most seasons we've had. The majority are in A tier, meaning they're very good kits. The B tier are the serviceable kits. They've got some positives, but some obvious negatives that kind of detract from them being the kits. You'd immediately go, yeah. If you were given a lucky dip kit from a classic kit manufacturer and you got one of these, you'd be like, I'd rather have one of these. C tier is when there's significant deficits that make the kit ugly, dull, or just something that doesn't work on any level. D is the absolute bottom of the barrel. So that's everything I said about C, but also something else that marks it out. Like, it's too garish, too ugly. Just it hurts your eyes to look at in a bad way. Just get rid of it. So there we go. Let me know if you disagreed. Please, just if you're interested, you can check out all of my other kit tier rating videos. I'm going to at least do the rest of the 90s just to complete a decade. But yeah, thank you for listening. If you have, and have a lovely day, whatever you're doing.